My name is McDaniel. I'm a Korean American adoptee. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, and I grew up there my whole entire life. I moved to Korea in 2008 as an English teacher to find my birth family. Fortunately, I did those, and yeah, started business in Korea and lived here ever since. So when I was 4 years old, I was adopted. So I definitely have memories in Korea. I think for me, I don't remember the good memories. It's always the traumatic experiences, especially when you're a young child. I remember being alone, remember being hungry, my mom and dad always fighting, the smell of soju and cigarettes in the air, always constant yelling. Remember being out in the street a lot. So I remember those memories. I remember being in an orphanage, and the orphanage wasn't good either in the 80s. So, especially in Incheon. I was in some orphanage in Incheon, I think maybe sponsored or ran by a Catholic nunnery. And I remember this like Inspector Gadget looking guy coming to the orphanage and talking to me. He said, "Hey, it's time to go." So I'm like, yeah, let's go, you know? So I got on a plane, had a huge ear infection. I was kicking, screaming the whole entire time. So then when I got off the plane, I remember he just does this to my mom and dad, and I'm just going nuts. That guy was actually my American family lawyer, my adoption lawyer. So he actually came and got me. Looking down, I see my older brother. I pause, because he looks like me. I'm like, who's that, right? Then he sticks out like candy. I think Pez it was at the time, like Snoopy Pez, right? Then just instinct just popped in, I kicked him, right? I kicked his hand, he goes, "Oh, take him back to Korea." And that was like one of my first memories for sure. And as soon as I got into the car from the airport, I'm in my mom's lap, and my dad's driving, and my brother's in the back crying because I'm crying, Then my mom opens a photo album. And the photo album, the first picture is a car. Then the second picture is a house, like a big house, right? I'm like, well, what is this? So I quit, screaming. I'm just really transfixed, really focused on these pictures. The next picture is my mom and my brother smiling together, right? So I'm like, whoa, what's going on? Then the last one was a bed, and that hit me hard. As soon as I saw that bed, I exactly knew what I had, a family. I knew I had a second chance, and I knew that it was a loving family, something that I've always been wanting to have. Because when I was first abandoned into the orphanage, I remember that situation as well too. I remember my dad saying, "Hey, just sleep on the couch for a bit. I'm gonna talk to this lady for a while." I just remember waking up, then my Korean dad, he was gone. And the lady at the desk, like, "This is your new home now." Then I just couldn't get it. But I knew, right, that my dad's gone. So when you have that memory of being abandoned, right, then all that hardship before, then it clicked with me. This is my family. This is exactly what I wanted. It was tough for me in elementary school in the Midwest, especially Kansas City, Missouri. But because I went through such a hardship in Korea and always just fending for myself, I just fought fire with fire at first. It worked when you were young, but when you get into middle school, I mean, the kids are bigger, American kids are bigger, right? There's no way that's working. And the last thing I want to do is come back home and tell my American family, right? My family is like, "Oh, I'm getting racism." Because I wanted them to be happy. They're giving my chance to be happy. The last thing I wanted to do is go back home and bring the problems there. I had to deal with it myself. And I didn't know who else to talk to about it, right? Even my brother too, he's actually a Korean American adoptee as well. Different family, right? But same American family, right? He grew up, in America as a baby. And for me, already at the age of 4, I knew this. I knew we were different, but the same, so there was that relatability. And he's my brother, I love him. When I got older, I would say about in middle school, that's when I started adjusting. I was like, you know what? I understand them. I understand that hate. And I understand hate clashes with hate. It doesn't equal a positive ever, right? So it wouldn't work. And I knew that from being an orphanage, fighting other street kids, fighting with my Korean dad, right? And so I took a different approach. Kill them with kindness. So I would just be very observant. Middle school and on, I'm like, okay, what are they doing? How are they playing? Oh, he plays that sport. I want to play that sport. If I ended up being better than him, then I won't be competitive with him. I'm like, hey, I'll teach you. A kid who got a C on his report, in his math score or whatever, I'm like, yo, come close, bro. Just look here, right? So I made friends by, Yeah, being nice, or what I thought being nice, or helping. And it worked. So soon my enemies, who didn't understand me, became my friends, my allies. You know, in high school, because who doesn't respect hard work? Who doesn't respect people who have A's, right? So I was an athlete, and I was also academically sound. So I just tried to live by example, but then again, just nice to everybody, and it worked. But during that time, that's when I lost my Korean identity, is when I was so focused on just being happy and my dreams. It's that I didn't care. Like, I almost forgot all those Polaroid picture moments. So in high school, I actually was the own catalyst to my own racism. So in high school, and when I was a sophomore, my nickname was Chino, and I allowed it to be called to me. And I had no idea the effect. I lost my identity, and I allowed a misconception. And that's not right, So I had to be accountable for that action, So I think in university, that was very hard for me to overcome. In high school, I didn't care, but university, it stuck with me, and I knew. I knew I was different. But I viewed myself as just Eric McDaniel. Eric McDaniel, that's a Korean adoptee that has a loving family, So when I met my first Korean friend, that's when it was like, oh my God, I'm embarrassed. Like, how did I not know about being Korean? He first taught me Korean language, Korean culture, Korean food. So when he taught me about my Korean culture, I became so fascinated and started researching it about myself. Then it just hit me one day while me and him were eating Korean food in Kansas City, and I remembered all those memories again, right? So then on my third year at university, I was like, okay, I have to go back. So when I had those flashbacks of memories, that's my one goal I wanted to do, is to find my mom and dad. Then that's when I talked to my mom, like, Mom, do you have any paperwork about my adoption or anything? So she actually gave me some paperwork. I'm like, if there's anybody gonna go, it's gonna be you. So she was ready for it as possible, right? But of course she's gonna be Mom, like, she's gonna miss me and everything, right? So then I found out that I was adopted through Holt. So I contacted Holt Adoption Services, and they have like post-adoption services. And I did a lot of paperwork beforehand. Then I arrived to Korea, went to their office, did more paperwork. Then they sent out telegrams to my mom and dad. Then within a few months, I found both of them. It was almost a very numbing experience. It wasn't emotional. I was just numb when I first saw him. It's almost like that tingly feeling you get when you have a funny bone, but it's like all over my body. And I remember when he walked in with my uncle, I'm like, okay, which one are you? So yeah, it was cool. Yeah, and I showed just what my parents showed me. My American parents showed me. They gave me a second chance. So if I had a second chance at life, and I grew up my whole life knowing that hate doesn't work, the ultimate test is showing that to my dad. So that's what I did. So yeah, I met with him every day and told him everything's okay. I'm Eric, I'm fine. I'm a healthy guy. I'm independent, so it's all good. And I want to know about my story, and I want to reconnect with my Korean family who are very innocent of the situation. For example, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, my grandma, grandpa, right? For me, relinking with them was more important, to be honest, relinking with my father. It was very touching. My dad just told his side of the story, and he's, thank you for coming back, and they all welcomed me back, right? My mom, it was sad. That was very heart-wrenching. She was embarrassed. Yeah, and she just kept on saying how sorry she was. And and her situation, yeah, she wasn't the one that gave me up. It was my dad. So she had that living her whole entire life that, where is Eric? Where's my son? And it showed when I first met her, absolutely. I remember we were drinking soju and everything, we're just talking. And then all of a sudden, she just slams the soju bottle and just jumps over the table and gives me a hug and says, I'm never gonna let you go again. Just screaming. I just remember holding the soju glass behind her and saying, hey, everything's gonna be okay. Yeah. It was like, that was so dramatic. And couldn't imagine how she felt. Well, I could. I mean, she was just bawling and embarrassed and in despair. And yeah, it's so I'm glad that we all felt those emotions. Because having the ability to have a second chance to even rekindle, let alone all of us trying to get to know each other and get to love each other again, it's beauty. Through pain and happiness, it's beauty. You have to understand and go through all those emotions. One thing I most regret is actually not compartmentalizing me being Korean and losing my Korean identity, me being aware of it, because I was accountable for it in high school, right? So definitely focusing on that more, about being Korean American, seeking out to meet more Korean friends at an earlier age. I knew this awareness and having that knowledge would make me a so much better person, because I was just culturally unaware. We can call it whitewashed. You can call me a banana. You can call me vanilla wafer. I was probably all three, So definitely not just allowing it kind of to happen and being part of it too. What I'm proud of the most is definitely one, finding all my parents and finding my half brother and my half sister I recently just found, which is another reason why I stayed here so long. Because if they ever come back to Korea, they can find me and I can find them. So when I came to Korea, I found out that I have a half brother and sister on my dad's side. So he was married before. So knowing the whole story, I was like, oh my God. And I'm the youngest. They have no idea they have a younger brother their whole entire lives. So knowing about Korean adoptees in the 70s and the 80s, paperwork was just god awful. And they were, I believe, adopted when they were, I think, like 8 and 4. Luckily together in France. Luckily, right? So for me thinking about that, then like, oh my God, so they're both probably aware they were abandoned, if not abused. Because if I was abused, and I remember that from my dad, they definitely were. So I dedicated my life here in Korea to find them, through research for other Korean adoption associations, adoptee blogs, which is the best thing about SNS. Actually bringing the world adoption community together. So finding my brother and sister, after 12 years, he finally gave me their pictures and their birth dates. That's all I needed. I found out everything else, right? So then I just blasted out in social media, and through the whole adoption community helping me, I found them. So that's what I'm most proud about. My name is McDaniel, and this is my Korean American story.